Hello, everyone. I am here today with Sebastian Stout, the creator of Quantum Kai. And some of you may know him from his previous creation, Evolving Essence. And it's a real treat and pleasure to be here with you today. The way that he and I met, I started a Facebook group called Birthing Pleasure. And then a mutual friend of ours added him to that group. And that's how we met. And it was like an instant resonance. And it's crazy because it feels like we've known each other for like 10 years and it's just been months. And so we quickly joined up and began teaching workshops on birthing a new paradigm and bringing more pleasure into our lives. And we taught that in Florida this summer. So that was fun. So I'm just thrilled to be able to interview him so you can get to know him better like I do, because he has so much to offer to the world at this time. So is it okay if I just hop in with questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate this opportunity and to have this space with you right now.
My pleasure. So Sebastian, you are a living example of being the full expression of your true self. Specifically on the physical level, I want to go there for a moment. You have been through some transformation recently. Can you share with us some about that? Whatever is arising for you around that today.
So in this moment, I'm thinking about, do I talk about what the transformation is like for me right now, or what it's been like over a process?
Maybe a little bit of both for those who haven't been on the journey with you, just for a starting point.
Yeah. So I was born with female anatomy, and after my dad passed away suddenly, it was a catalyst to removing any shackles from being my most authentic self and realizing how, tomorrow isn't guaranteed and that the only thing holding myself back is myself and my perception that I can't be free, and I can be free. And so lots of memories came to me about how I, had always felt not like, I never resonated with being a girl fully, and felt unfair that I didn't get to be a boy. And I eventually, learned to love my body as it was, and I gave birth to my daughter. And then I wanted to give myself, because I love myself so much, I wanted to give myself the opportunity to experience life as a male. And so I've been transitioning over the past couple of years, and I've come to a point now where I realize that my essence is genderless, and that I resonate with femininity and masculinity and everything in the spectrum in between and beyond. And so I've been just really observing what all these different perceptions of life, like how to see life through a lens of male, and how to perceive life, like what it's like to perceive life through the lens of female, and through the lens of non-binary, which is how I identify currently. And although I still use he and him pronouns, and my daughter calls me daddy, and that resonates with me now.
Really beautiful. And I can really attest to that just from being in relationship with you, that being around you is so clarifying and so healing, in the sense that it helps me balance my own masculine and feminine within myself. And it's sort of like it's an automatic pop out of what's expected into just who I am and what I feel in the moment. That's what I experience around you. And I think that is the greatest gift. the greatest gift. And I didn't even know that I needed or wanted that until I met you, you know, not consciously.
Yeah.
Or that it was just like maybe like periphery frustrations that I couldn't define. And so I'm really grateful that the courage that you have to walk this path and show us the way into that space. What societal limits do you feel you have broken through or overcome through your journey?
Well, your question is exactly where I wanted to go next too. 'Cause, you know, it's like, you know, even I feel like I've been living in the margins as an outsider of society for a lot of my life. And, you know, like when I was younger, I was into the punk rock scene and goth for a while, and just sort of living in this, like, felt like the subculture of life, and just observing almost as a bystander of like of these stories being played out. And feeling most alive when I wasn't going with the norm of like what's normal, you know, what's fitting in, even though there are definitely times where I've, you know, tried to fit in, and it would, you know, just be like devastated because I never did. You know, it's like I couldn't even understand, because I'm not, because we're all unique, you know,
Right.
like, and I'm wondering if anyone ever feels like they fully fit in, because how can we fit something when we're all individual, completely unique beings, you know? And so, okay, societal norms, like,
Well, you say norm, and when you're talking, I'm realizing like we make a joke of how there's nothing normal. We joke and say, you know, when in fact, we all still are really affected by what is considered normal. Wouldn't you agree? That like whether we like it or not, we are still in that. That's what you're speaking to.
yeah, you know, so like when I'm out in public, and you know, so like I haven't had any chest surgery, so I still have visible breasts, and sometimes it's not as obvious, but you know, I'm always feeling like just a hint of anxiety of like, well, what might people be perceiving? And often I take a role of like curious observer, and, you know, kind of step back from, not, you know, like, but I'm always like, I wonder how I'm being perceived right now. And
And what about that societal norm where we're always doing that, where we're always wondering how we're being perceived, right?
yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
yeah,
Because I feel like that's like the human condition that we're all trying to break, and so you're navigating that, you know, quite well. I mean, how is that for you? Like, do you feel like you've lessened those chains of worry about what others think? Are you still a process, you know?
it comes and goes, you know, like
Yeah.
sometimes I'll feel like, you know, especially not concerned, and then, but if I notice like a second glance or someone, you know, then I'm like, oh, you know, like, so, because I'll, you know, read stories about like violence towards people who are transgender, and that's never happened to me. And you know, but then there's this like hint of fear, and it's pretty minuscule for me, but I'm always like, oh, well, you know, people unpredictable, what might happen, you know? So just kind of like having a balance of being my authentic self while an awareness of my surroundings.
Mm, good. That's beautiful. But right, the commonality for me in what you're sharing is who on the planet is not struggling with the worrying about what others think of them about something.
Right. Yeah.
About something. So we're all the same, and we all are in a place where we're being invited to let that go altogether.
Yeah.
And I think you're just a model, because from a perception of normal, you're doing it in a bigger way.
Yeah. So, and it's really been freeing in that, like I've previously, when I was presenting as female, and I would feel like I couldn't even leave the house, or I wasn't worthy to be like seen if I didn't have like my hair done or like makeup on.
Right.
My mom would be like, don't you want to put mascara on before you go out, and I'm just like,
Right.
and like as perceived as male, it's like I'm not expected. In fact, looked down upon if I'd had.
I mean,
Although today I was
how
like,
crazy is that? And I
I
find
know.
myself so jealous of you. Like, you never have to put mascara on, as if any of us have to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think, a lot of people, it's like I might be like feeling somewhat self-conscious at the grocery store of like, oh, can they tell that I have a chest? And someone else is like, can they tell I didn't do my hair? Or
Right.
can they tell like
It's
my
like
guts
the biggest cosmic joke. It's
and like everybody's feeling embarrassed about all these things.
right. Like if we could all hear our voices, we had bubbles on the side of our head with what we're thinking, we'd all be, it's ridiculous. And it's good that we can laugh at it so we can just let this go.
Yeah.
And your courage is beautiful to talk about it, because we actually could all talk about it, but we're not necessarily admitting it. So that's really beautiful. What have you learned from the way society behaves with regard to gender?
Yeah, so I've had this unique perspective. What wants to be said right now? So once my physical appearance changed enough that I'm more often perceived as male, and I could even see this progression over that time, because there was a time where it was really ambiguous, of like if I was perceived as male or female, but now I'm most often perceived as male. And so I'm in conversations, especially meeting someone for the first time, it is assumed that I am right and that I know what I'm talking about. Like, it's almost like I have this immediate authority. Whereas before I had to like prove myself, and like no one was believing me, and just like, oh, silly girl, you don't really know what you're talking about, is like the feeling that comes. And I kind of felt that then, but to see this contrast, like to literally experience it and to not be treated that way anymore, it's just like, whoa. And it's from any gender is treating me that way, other men, other women, like it's, so there's just these norms. So it's not like, it's like, and in fact, I think actually, as I reflect on it just now, I think it is more women who are assuming my rightness, even like my right of way in the grocery store, just like they like move out of my way as if because I'm a man, I immediately get a right of way, and like they apologize for being in my way. And like, and it's, even as a female, that I could see that sometimes with some people, depending on the situation and circumstance. But now it's almost always just like, oh, you're a man, you get the right of way. And then I would see that I would do that too, and I still kind of just like do that for other men, and not even I'm like becoming aware that I'm doing that.
Right. You don't have the memo yet that you get to have the free pass. So yeah, hopefully you can just stay that middle ground for all of us to model that. I mean, to our listeners, they've got to just be like, I mean, I was incredulous to hear this, and more and more people are speaking of this that are transgender. The difference that in 2018, as evolved as we perceive ourselves to be, that subconscious program is still playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the benefit of this interview is we're making something subconscious conscious.
Yeah.
And so now everyone listening can just play with that. I mean, just encourage everyone to play with it and notice.
Yeah.
Become the observer.
Mm-hmm.
And decide whether that's a behavior that you're choosing or it's just a program, and why you're choosing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
another
fascinating.
aspect that I
Can
want
you speak to the idea of balancing the masculine and feminine energy within us, no matter the gender?
So what comes to me is full authentic self-expression. It's just like, it's like dissolving any ways of what should be and allowing what wants to emerge from your body. Has like
Mm.
body expression, like, like something I'm really passionate about is ecstatic dance, and just like moving your body however it wants to move without any preconceived notions of what it's supposed to do. And because like for I would constantly limit my motions and be small in my body, whereas a man, it's like you are allowed to take up space. And so I felt so restricted. As like, oh, I'm just supposed to sit and be pretty, as a girl and not take up my space because I have to make room for all the men who are taking up all the big space.
Wow. And so as we as women explore the masculine in ourselves, then we give ourselves a permission slip to take up more space.
Yes. Yes.
Light bulb.
Take up more space. Your space
and then and for men, as they bring more of the feminine energy forward, what benefit does that bring to their life?
Love, compassion, connection, like a depth. Just like this luxurious taste of life, of meaning to it, that is like, to me, feels is really embedded in the feminine aspect. Just like there's so much in life to enjoy and to appreciate and to savor. And if we're cut off from that, everything just seems like a tool,
or one-dimensional, like one-dimensional living.
Yeah. Yes, that is such a great point. That is exactly where I want to go with this, is that there's just so many aspects of life to enjoy and experience, and they all have their own beauty and challenges.
And for me, after I met you and I really began to explore these things in myself, the best tool is just like asking yourself questions about everything you say, you do, and how you look, and asking yourself why. So after I met you, I was thinking of cutting my hair, and I went through this process of like because I became the observer, noticing thoughts of, I wonder if I'll be thought of as pretty with shorter hair. And I would have never I still would have had that program playing, but I wouldn't have been conscious of it until I met you. So if we can all just become conscious, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if we have short hair, long hair, none of this matters, but it does matter for you to become aware of why you're deciding all those things, the space that you're coming from, right? I mean, that it's not just a program, that it's something you're doing because you actually just brings you joy.
Right. Yeah. It's like, it's about getting in touch with, getting in touch with what brings you joy. And in fact, that was part of the catalyst to my own self-discovery, was reading that book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, where you go through all of your belongings. And
right. I love that book.
And just like hold each one, is like, does this bring me joy? And like, none of my clothes brought me joy except for one pantsuit. It was just like, what is going on here? And then I was just like, my hair doesn't even bring me joy. Like, I had long hair and I just always wore it back. So it could essentially look like this, but just I had this like ponytail, or like that I just kind of ignored.
Again, I'm jealous of that too. How you can just like go in the shower and just go on your way.
Yeah, it's so nice. I'm like, I don't even have to worry. Does my hair look good?
Right.
And so like cutting my hair for the first time, well, one of the first times when I realized, because I just kept telling myself like, oh, there's all these reasons I can't cut my hair short, like it's gonna be too fluffy or something like that, and then when I finally did, I was just like, it felt like this revealing of myself. And then I just kept getting it cut and kept getting it cut, like more and more masculine, and just giving myself permission
Mm.
to be what I want to be and just experience, permission to explore, and permission to, it feels, just like permission to be myself. It's like, does this bring me joy? Like, and then not thinking that there's any mistakes about it.
Right. And I think I could hear some echoes from the spiritual community thinking, ultimately we're not our body. We're not, none of this is even remotely, it's just all an illusion anyway. However, the reason I think this conversation and these tools that we're suggesting are so important is because it like peels back the layers of it. Like, if you're an expression of joy rather than an expression of a program, you can't really spiritually bypass that. You can't really say, well, I realize I'm not the body, so none of it matters. There's really this in-between step that we're talking about that can be very beneficial for
Yeah,
growth.
because it's like if our body didn't matter at all, we wouldn't have a body. Like we're here
Right.
to experience the fullness of human expression.
Right. And the underlying piece being expression of your joy. So if you're expressing your hair or your face or your clothes or anything in anything because of a program, because of what you're supposed to, that's not a true expression. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I thank you. Like, just thank you, because every day I'm doing it more and more and more. What's next? So you're passionate about the ability of a body to have a physiologic birth. Can you define physiologic as you understand it?
Yes, it is. So initially I was going to say what a body is, it does without intervention. But that can look different in
Right.
so many different ways. So how do I want to describe that? What's the best way? The most, like, I want to be really true and clear and pure in my words. Because I recognize that birth can come in so many different ways, and that the birthing person and the baby that's coming into being has a path to be honored.
Right.
And so, but I also noticed that birth has been medicalized, and that it's been, like there is almost like these expectations where it seems like, oh, this is what to do, when I want to bring back a memory of in our bodies, that our bodies actually do know what to do.
Right.
And so,
and then whatever happens from there, of course, we accept all as perfect and soul contracts, but you and I are in alignment with that it's encoded in the woman's body's DNA, how just like a cat or a dog, it's literally, that just happens naturally.
Right. And what I learned in my doula training and just like resonated with me fully, in like knowing the truth of it, is that, so we, like a birth might be going a certain way, and maybe taking longer than expected or something like that. But it's really that well, I don't know, let me rephrase really, but there are situations where the baby is just like, it knows what to do. The baby and the woman's body, they're in this, this synergy, this synchronicity, and they're moving. And so if a woman's told to just be a certain way, then that's inhibiting the baby from, like maybe the woman wants to to move, and it might seem like an odd position, but in actuality, that's how the baby can maneuver, under the pubic bone, or,
Right.
Or if there's the baby's in a position and maybe it just needs time, and it's slowly actually, turning and making progress.
So what I'm hearing is physiologic birth is connected to an innate wisdom in the body, like you're saying. Like you pointed out right before we went to talking about birth, like we're in these bodies and they have an innate intelligence.
Yes.
In particular with birth, there's an innate wisdom and intelligence that can be accessed if we intend for a physiologic birth rather than to see it as needing to be medicalized.
Right. Yeah. So, because so say if it seems like the birth is taking too long, and then, there's these statistics behind it. But what if that baby it actually is needed like
A break. Just
right,
a pause.
a break, or it is adjusting it's like it's trusting in life, that life knows how to thrive. Your body, the baby, the
I
whole
just want to
process.
sink that in. I just want to let that sink in. That's profound. Knows how to thrive, and life knows how to thrive.
Yes.
Life will find a way.
Yes.
Where did we lose that trust? Right?
Yeah. I want to reignite that. And also through just connecting with nature, being and this is an aspect of something that I offer that I don't sure that you and I have even discussed very much, is that, so that for people to get back in touch with that life that is living through them, to connect with nature in such a way they're observing it and seeing how it's doing it, how life is living through the nature, and how nature is always communicating with us. And anytime that we want to observe it, it has a message and it's with us. And, but it's like, it's only a part of our lives if we notice it and pay attention to it.
Beautiful. And I didn't mention at the beginning, I didn't give your bio, but of course everyone's realized you are doula trained.
Yeah.
And what makes, and you might have already touched on this, but just in case there's something left, what makes you so passionate about birth and assisting women in this way?
Well, I mean, it's something that brings me so much joy. And so I gave birth to my daughter, and I had a natural birth at home, a physiologic birth in a water tub in my home. And it was just the most amazing experience. And that it was this experience of just trusting my body and trusting life. And I want other women, other birthing persons to experience that trust and that faith of a life, and that their bodies and their babies know what to do. That's the juiciness of life. It's like the essence.
The stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, if I was giving birth, if I was having a baby, I would love to have you as my doula. Because again, going back to the beginning of the conversation, I don't know how many male presenting doulas there are, but I'm just saying that, the binary identification and the balance of the male and masculine and feminine energy, because it's just energy that you can bring to the table, I could just see as so valuable. That masculine energy holding space and the feminine energy flowing and expressing. Just, I see that it could as very valuable for women.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That feels so great to hear. And it also feels like, truth. That's what I know in myself.
Right.
So.
You've landed on the scene. You're just like, here's something new. How about me? Da-da. I'm a musical theater person, so my brain just went to a stage and na 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 in the best possible way. So
Yeah.
what was the most interesting out of the box thing that you learned in your doula training? I have something I hope you're going to share, but whatever comes up,
Oh, yeah.
whatever comes up for you in the moment.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow. I noticed how, like, in this moment, I felt like just a hint of anxiety of like, oh, I know what I want to talk about, but then I'm like, what if I explain it wrong? I'm just going to do my best
There's
because,
no wrong. You can't.
yeah, exactly. I'm just like letting go of that. Okay. So what I learned, so the in so it's regarding fertilization and it's like I learned about conception in a totally different way than was presented to me, in school.
Right.
So,
Right.
So there's this, the female reproductive system has an egg is chosen each month, and each egg already has 46 chromosomes within it. And so when it's going to be fertilized with sperm, it shuffles the chromosomes and divides it in half and keeps 23. And then that other 23 is kept aside. And then in my, like, it's often taught that, that's just kind of like discarded or something. And a sperm also has 23. And so it lets off this light in order for it to enter or commune with the egg. And
right.
Yeah, it like actually sparks.
At the moment of conception, like the union, there's a spark.
Yeah, and the sperm has like almost like this power pack on it, and it lets off the light so
right.
that it can. So the light is needed. Right. And then it, communes with the egg. And so that I learned about an experiment done with a mouse where the mouse became impregnated with that extra, supposedly discarded 23 chromosomes by shining light on it, like a laser beam.
Right.
And so this made me think of the potential for pregnancy without sperm.
And we thought Immaculate Conception was only for Mary and Jesus.
Right.
I mean, like, yeah, but also just not to just blow over the profound beauty and wisdom and metaphors and all in that, in the possibilities in that.
Yeah, and like the first thing that comes to mind is I don't want to say that I don't want to imply that men are not needed or wanted, in
right.
conception, but that life finds a way.
Right.
And that there's more possible than we ever thought possible.
Yes. And it's already in nature. There are many, many fish that in the absence of a male will turn into one.
Yes.
So even the transgender idea, I mean, as new as it may seem to most, this is not a new concept. This has been happening with fish forever.
Exactly.
So it's almost like we're just catching up with the possibilities of nature, or the things we didn't notice before we're noticing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if we see everything through this box and this box, we don't realize that there's what about everything that's not inside those boxes?
Right. Right. So in what ways would you like to support fertility along those lines?
Yeah, through meditation and Kundalini yoga and coaching as well. Yeah, I feel so called to this work. I've been so immersed in the past few months, I'd say past 2 years, but really intensely in the past few months of getting clear on what my calling is and what my purpose is. And this is what I'm being directed to, is helping with fertility, with birth, and with authentic expression.
Beautiful.
And they're related.
Yeah. You want to speak to that at all, the correlations?
Yeah, so what life wants to come through, life wants to thrive, and with our societal limitations, we're holding back and cutting off life. And so through allowing and letting go of what we think we should do, and letting go of how we think we can be, and opening up possibilities to this authentic self-expression, we can more fully be ourselves and allow life to come through us. And that's with birthing a baby and conceiving a baby, or an idea, or a new self, which I do all of those things.
Right. So it's all connected.
Yeah. You birth your new self, it's like it just opens up possibilities of things that felt like they weren't options anymore, or like for some reason felt like blocked off or delayed.
I feel like I need just a pause to integrate what we've talked about so far. Okay, so I know you love to connect with nature and communicate with nature. You mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
In what ways does nature support you personally? And maybe talk about nature as a lover.
Yeah.
That's juicy.
Yeah. So there was a time where I was spending almost every morning on the beach, and I'd go for a run, and then I'd swim in the ocean, and then I'd do some stretches on the sand. And during that time, I felt like I was really in this sensual relationship with nature, and I still am, and can be any time where I put my attention there. So like I'd go into the ocean and just like notice how like the water is like entering all of my crevices, and how so intimate that is, like the ocean and I are becoming one, and it's like, and I'm just like floating on top, and I'm just like, gosh, you really have me, like you're supporting me right now, and I'm just like flowing with you. And so then like the wind would blow, and maybe I'd feel the wind like go in my shirt, and I'm like, oh, you're flirting with me a little bit.
Nice.
Or like a flower on my face might feel like a kiss, or even the wind might feel like a kiss, or like like nibbling my ear or something like that. And then I even started to view like insects, instead of them being annoying, just like, oh, hello friend, and so like, oh, you're tickling my feet.
Yeah, I love a fly walking across my arm and the tickle, everybody swatting it off. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's how weird I am. So
yeah. And what brings to what that that the awareness that brings, as you mentioning that, is how we have a choice, how we perceive situations. So like with nature, like, are we going to perceive this as being annoying or a nuisance? Are we going to perceive this as a friend coming to visit and say hello? Like it's like, okay, if we see a butterfly, we're like, oh, we feel special, the butterfly wanted to come talk to us. And like, how is that butterfly not just as special as these ants? Maybe they're just like really drawn to us.
Or the bee that stung me this summer. I mean, I took that as good medicine. It wasn't fun, but that was still medicine. It was still, yes, it's still the lesson of the pain and pleasure being on the same neural pathway, and like just a shift in perception they can be simultaneous. And then when you were talking, I was thinking about nature when it rages, if you will. Thinking of Mother Earth as feminine, and just seeing that as, you know, oftentimes we see women who are, you know, we say, oh, they're premenstrual, or oh, they're crazy, or what, just because they're like raging or whatever, they're expressing. And we see it right in nature. It's not, it just is.
Right.
Expression, all of it.
Exactly. Expression. And that it's not wrong. It's life. It's like, it is the essence of what we're doing here. You know, like all of us, all living things, they express and create, express and create.
Beautiful. Can you hear the lawnmower in the background? If not, great. What else? Just seeing where we want to go from here. I'm just going to ask this and see if there's anything that comes from it. There's different belief systems around one and only life versus like reincarnation. But when it comes to this life that we're meeting with right now, you and I in this moment, have you noticed a bit of more than one life within one life? Can you look back on this life, you, Kai Sebastian? Does it seem like you've had more than one life within one life?
Yeah, I would say especially because I feel like I'm constantly recreating myself. But I'm pausing a moment just to like let your question.
Well, if it's true that we like sort of have more than one life in one life, it almost gives permission for us to, you know, or maybe some understanding to those out there listening that are going through something, you know, to realize, well, maybe you're, you know, maybe this is birthing of a new life within yourself.
Yeah, well, what I've noticed is that there, like in these experiences of creating myself anew, it's almost like anything that I've been concerned about in a previous life or a previous version of myself didn't really matter so much. You know, it's not like this heaviness that keeps me there. You know, it's like I can start anew, and it's like fresh, and it's almost like a new layer of a way to live in the world. And so
that's beautiful. I think many of us find that really challenging, and the fact that you have learned to navigate it with more pleasure, I think can be very helpful to those who are in that space, that you could help them traverse those waters, you know. And it feels like a letting go, but to you, you're framing it different. You're just like, oh, you know, it's not so much like, oh, letting go. It's just like walking into the new. That's what it sounds like when you're talking about it.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, do I want to view this as an adventure? Because I love adventure. And, you know, like and I think, you know, even from, you know, childhood, most children are just so curious and like, oh, I wonder what's in these hidden places, you know, or the places that we can't see, and what's beyond there. And, you know, it's just like staying in that space has been extremely helpful for me.
Right.
And, you know, instead of like, oh, but wait, it needs to all be like this. And I'm like, oh, but what is there? What else is there?
You know, a lot of people talk about adulting now. And maybe we should eliminate from the concept of adulting this concept of losing that sense of adventure. And because kids don't worry about so much what they look like and if they're like screwing up by doing something new, or they just, it's all new, it's all fun.
Yeah.
So thank you for modeling that, just like keeping that alive. And at the end, when you make your offerings, I just want everyone to note that you know how to navigate that, and so you are really good at assisting others in those spaces. And I think so many of us are in that space right now, and it feels so discombobulating and wobbly and confusing, and to have some guidance from he who is doing it well and with pleasure would be great. So I'm going to ask you sort of a couple quick questions with just, if we can just get some quick answers. Describe the challenges of birthing the new self, and then I tell you to do a quick answer. But if you can just summarize that, because we're getting to the end. What are some actual, because you said you've done it with grace, but what were the challenges? Were there a couple challenges within that?
Yeah, because it's about navigating the unknown. And, you know, this fear of what's going to happen, you know. And so a meditation practice is really important, as well as community support. You know, just like having someone to support me, or someone I can reach out to, people that I can reach out to help me get perspective again. And
you do that for me.
and you do that for me.
Yeah. You just want everyone to know that this is community even right here, and we're not even in the same state, and how valuable that is.
Yeah.
It makes everything so much easier. It doesn't have to be so hard and painful when you're doing it in community.
Right.
And why is birthing yourself valuable, succinctly? You could write a whole dissertation on all of these topics, but
yeah. It's like the very core of what the soul wants to experience, like why it came here. It's like to fully express itself. And then it's like, okay, like a bamboo growing, you know, it can grow quickly, and it just keeps going, and it looks like there's, you know, almost like layers. And so there's like a version of yourself. And then, well, if you want to keep growing and keep experiencing more and get, you know, like higher, to, you know, just to keep, you know, growing, going up and high, like, just like, and so it's like each of those is like a version of yourself as you continue to grow and to see what can I become and what can I be. And like, that's where the aliveness is, and the richness, right. And the, like, that's what you want to sink your teeth into, you know?
Because we can.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Elon Musk. When questioned about these crazy, ridiculous things he's doing, it's like, well, we have to. We can. I mean, why wouldn't we? We can. And so viewing it that way is a nice perspective. And also you sharing like it's what we came here for really gives us a permission slip for that. What is your greatest strength? I'm really putting you on the spot. What is your greatest strength?
The very first thing that came to my mind is coming from my heart and a place of authenticity.
Yes.
So like, and seeing a person at their core, at their essence, and like, you know, just like, and this unconditional love, and just like, I just love you, and I'm gonna just love you no matter what.
I mean, how great is that? Like for me, being on the receiving on the end of that, it's like the sense of being truly seen. I think we all desperately want to just be really seen. So everyone listening, that's his gift. You need some of that. Contact him. So I have a concept I like to call sacred commerce, which is a new paradigm for conducting business. I'm also learning about the similar terminology of regenerative business, which focuses on sustainability and win-win for all. I know that was a lot of words. Do you have thoughts about this in relation to birthing your own business? Your Quantum Kai.
Yeah, okay. So what makes my heart sing is for a person to pay what from the value that they receive. And yeah, and it's like I strongly value my services and what I have to offer, and realize that there is monetary worth in them. And at the same time, I want to serve as many people as possible. And I want them to feel empowered, and I want them to feel I want us to be on the same page of the value, of what they're receiving.
Right.
And
so it's a win-win.
Yeah.
The new way is win-win-win-win. Everybody wins.
Totally.
Yeah. And what was your greatest aha moment in the last week or month or day, hour, whatever it is? Which one pops out most recently, if there is one?
What comes to me is that I have all these gifts to give, but I need to let it be known to that I'm here. And so this is helping that, like, so that I can give, like I have so much to give and I so want to give it, but if people don't even know that I'm here and available to give, I can't, there needs to be this. So I'm spreading the word. I'm here. I'm available.
We see you.
And it brings me joy to give and to help others.
And thank you for allowing yourself to be seen, because that gift that you have to see others, for that to be a full circuit, now that you're allowing yourself to be seen, that just makes it all the juicier. It really, really does. If you could sum up your message to humanity in a phrase or sentence, what would that be? What would Source be saying at this time to humanity in a phrase or sentence?
Life wants to be expressed through you, to experience the richness of this human experience, to allow your joy and your love to emerge in your most authentic expression.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everything. I see you, you see us, and I so appreciate it.
Thank you.
What I want to do now is give you a chance, just in case if you have any special offerings for our listeners or anything you want to say to them about how to connect with you and what you can offer them.
Yeah, you can connect with me through email, which is quantumkaiconnect@gmail.com.
So QUAN
TUM
KAI connect CONNECT at
gmail.com.
Okay.
In this moment, I'm like, oh, do I want to have an offer, or do I want to just say to people to reach out and we'll figure out what's best for you?
So maybe better, does this feel better if you just say a little bit about the people that you want to work with, the people that you know there's going to be resonance, like what does that look like? Who might be looking for you?
Yeah. A person of any gender identity, any sexual orientation, who desires, who knows that there's something that wants to emerge. And maybe that is a baby to be conceived, or maybe they already are pregnant with the baby. Or maybe it's an idea, or maybe it's another version of themselves, or maybe they don't even know quite yet what exactly it is. They just have this sense that there's something that wants to be expressed and to come out. And I work with couples or individuals as well.
Perfect.
And I do this mainly through, or I wouldn't say mainly, but primarily my strengths are meditations and Kundalini yoga. And through a coaching and counseling type of session, although I'm not officially a mental health counselor, but I have gone through life coach training and halfway through a master's in counseling. I can tailor the yoga and the meditations specifically for what it is that for what you need, and for it to emerge. And I want to stay with you on the journey until through this birthing process of whatever wants to be birthed or conceived.
You're going to see it through with them.
Yeah.
How valuable is that? You know, just yesterday I had a friend that connected with me to help me through like a bump. But what I so appreciated was like she stayed all the way through, like from the idea to the breaking apart, all the way through to the resolution, to the like laughter, all this, you know. Like we so appreciate someone to hold that space and be there for us as we are all birthing so many things. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And you're doula trained, certified Kundalini yoga instructor. You have a lot of, you know, what societal norm considers all these expertise, but your expertise goes way beyond anything that a paper says. So I think that's been made clear in this interview. So I love you. Thank you for taking this time and space to share yourself with us. Just the sharing of your true self has been such a gift.
Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate you.
And to all our listeners, thank you for listening. We love you.
Thank you for
We're
being
here
here.
for you.
Yeah.